So apparently I'm not homeless, at least according to Michael Smith and a litany of other commenters. Seems to be no shortage of this comment, and tonight I'd like to talk about that. Total Control 871. So I just read the bazillionth comment that I am allegedly not homeless. Not homeless. So if I'm not homeless, would somebody care to explain to me what exactly, or why exactly, would I be in Walmart's pickup center at 1:42 in the morning? I mean, I've got a camp I can go to. I'm just not terribly sleepy. I have a great deal of PTSD. It's difficult for me getting to sleep. And I've got a lot of anxiety. And I don't feel well. And I don't feel like just laying there in my sleeping bag. So I just come and hang out here. Everything is quiet too. The overhead PA music isn't too loud, and other than the occasional phone over there ringing, so that might interrupt us tonight. But other than that, it's pretty calm, and it's mellow, and that's pretty important to my PTSD. Really, Okay. So I want to talk about something tonight. There's a whole backstory to it. There's always a whole backstory to my stuff. When you age out of the group home system, what they will try to do is give you like transitional housing. This is about 1990, Detroit, Michigan, and I had just aged out of the group home I was in. Without getting into a huge backstory, I was just basically one of those gay teens that my father, you hear about it. Parents that kick out their gay children. So, So I aged out and I became enrolled in the group home. They helped facilitate my transitioning into this program. It was called Wedgwood. And it was called semi-independent living or something like that. They put you up for like about a year. Once again, housing for a year. As a type of, launching pad, like a type of launch pad. That's its function, I suppose. There's not really a whole lot of launch there, though, I'm getting ahead of myself. In the program, enrolled, it's a duplex. I'm sharing the upstairs duplex. It's like 3 bedrooms up there, and there's a guy up there. So just me and this other guy. So it's like basically it's like an apartment. It's like a 3-bedroom apartment, and there we were. Occasionally we would go on field trips. Sometimes entertainment, sometimes educational. In this particular field trip, it was deemed educational. The destination of the field trip was the Harbor Light Rescue Mission in Detroit, Michigan. I can understand why people will sometimes mistakenly think that I am not homeless. I guess I don't look a certain way. I don't particularly consider myself terribly good looking or whatever, but guess I'm somewhat groomed. Anyway, so there we are at the Harbor Light Rescue Mission, and I suppose the overall function of the visit there was to, I won't say it was a scared straight type of thing, but more of a foreboding, careful, mind your P's and Q's, or else this will happen to you. I guess that's the best I can actually characterize the outing, its function, its purpose. I really feel bad about what I'm about to say. It is something of a confession. It's embarrassing, but it is a confession, and it is an apology that I do need to make to the entire homeless community. Maybe it's a confession and an apology that is extremely overdue. I was a very different type of person back then. I mean, I was like 18 or 19 years old, okay? Very, very young. I had been working, and I had been squirreling away a little money here and there. You know, I had a bank account, and I also had some nice clothes. Kids do that, teens do that. They like clothes and things like that. I knew the destination of the field trip, Harbor Light Rescue Mission. And that particular day, I decided to throw on the dog. I mean, just all out nines. Linen slacks, silk shirt, and a full-length, butter-soft leather trench coat. Full-length leathers were a big thing back in the, early 90s. That was like a thing back then. I don't even know if they're popular anymore, but so there I am, like this $400 coat. That was a hell of a lot of money for, and there I am all decked out. There we all were, we were all in there. It was a bunch of us kids. And I'm not really going to talk about their behavior, because I don't want to sit there and make it look like I'm hiding behind their behavior, or that it wasn't just me, it was, all of us. That's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to talk about me and to hold myself accountable. So there I was, in this rescue mission. I would giggle, snicker, laugh, and judge. I would find a reason to walk to or fro and quickly pivot, all for the purpose of basically walking a runway type shit. I was flaunting my possessions in these people's face. Employee passing by. So there I was in this mission, basically flaunting my possessions in these people's face. And I remember I would kind of hold my finger to my nose as if I smelled something incredibly foul. And the truth is that it basically smelled like a gymnasium, like an average high school gymnasium. Matter of fact, I think it was a gymnasium, or it looked like one. So it wasn't like a horribly noxious odor, but there I was, you know, there I was, prancing about, because thought I was a pretty black boy. Anyway, fast forward several months, not even years, just a few months. And there I am, hard at work, at my part-time, full-time job. I was doing like maybe 30 hours a week, and, working as many hours as I possibly could, I was a hard worker even back then. Anyway, in comes the caseworker at the semi-independent living facility. I think her name was Judith, something or another. She comes in and she walks up to the counter and she says to me, I need your keys to the apartment. Your stay is over. All of your belongings have been collected already, and you can collect them at the corporate office, at your earliest possible convenience. This entire conversation and her collecting my house keys took less than 5 minutes. In less than 5 minutes, I went from housed and employed to completely and utterly homeless. It happened just that fast, with no warning. Before you all start talking about renting laws and eviction processes, remember I was an 18-year-old kid. I don't know anything about that stuff. I shopped in malls on the weekends. And end of my shift, everybody goes their separate ways, gets in their cars. Normally I walk down to the bus stop and catch the bus home. This particular night I caught the bus to center downtown Detroit, I guess. Downtown Detroit, where they got the that famous arm that's suspended in a sculpture or whatever, and the dude holding like the spheres on his hands, his back, his shit or whatnot, So I'm basically downtown Detroit, and I'm completely homeless with absolutely nowhere to go. And the sun starts going down, and the darker it gets, I'm beginning to notice that there's more, like on a corner where nobody had been, suddenly there's somebody there, and they're just kind of standing there. And I kind of slowly begin to realize that people are starting to kind of like in orbit around me. It's like getting very dark now, and I start taking notice of the hugest cockroaches you ever saw in your life. They start crawling out of the sewer grates, between the cockroaches and some very dangerous looking people starting to accumulate on the street corners. I knew then that I needed to get off the streets immediately. It was not lost on me at that time, how I had treated the homeless at Harbor Light Rescue Mission. and Detroit had several rescue missions. But apparently by the time I had swallowed my pride enough to start heading toward, some of the rescue missions, it was too late. They were no longer accepting people, and everyone that turned me away told me, go to Harbor Light. And I didn't want to go to Harbor Light. And I went to the next mission. No, you didn't make the cutoff time. You'll have to go to Harbor Light. And that's exactly what I did. And there I was, in Harbor Light. Where I had just been several months prior, strutting like a peacock up and down the gymnasium floor, casting judgment. There I was, laying on the same pissy mats as all the rest. It can happen so fast. Homelessness. And it doesn't care who you are or what you have. So I'm not necessarily making this video to chastise Michael Smith and all the Michael Smiths of the world and everybody who would cast judgment on me. I don't know. Maybe what Jewish Family Services did to me, maybe that was a little bit of karma coming back on me. Anyway, the next morning I collected myself, got up off the mat, and started hammering out my my plan B. Plan B, I basically spoke about it in several videos long ago. I made my way to, well, number one, to Wedgwood's corporate office, got my belongings. I later ended up renting an apartment with a co-worker. That ended very horribly. He ended up skipping out on the lease, and I lost all of my possessions. That was a very hard lesson learned. I could turn that whole thing into a video in and of itself. When your name isn't on the lease, I made a lot of very dumb mistakes when I was young. A lot of people took advantage of my naivete. So that's what caused me to turn up on my father's doorstep when I was like 19 years old, with just an overnight bag. He fished into his wallet, pulled out $150, stuffed it in my hands, and told me to catch the Greyhound anywhere but here. Like I said, that was like 91, and I had a family down here in Jersey. Made my way here and basically been here ever since. Obviously there's a whole lot more to that story, but tonight that's what this video is about. I am very much indeed a homeless man. I understand that I probably don't fit your particular stereotype of what homeless is. You don't have to be an alcoholic or a drug addict or have a severe criminal history record to be homeless. All homelessness is, the definition of homeless is a person who does not have enough money to afford a place to live. Period. That is the end of the qualifier. And ironically enough, there are drug addicts and criminals and alcoholics who not only do they have a home, they have multiple homes, multiple vehicles. So just something to bear in mind. All right, guys, this was my confession. This is my apology to the homeless community. Once upon a time, I judged you, and then I became you. Total Control 871.